Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walahu amma ba'd. This is the evening preceding the 4th of Jumada al-Akhirah, and we gather at this time for our 8th session, is that right? Session number 8 in our study of the Muqaddimah of who? Muhammad ibn Dawood al-Sinhaji, otherwise known as Ibn Ajrumiyyah. It's called the Muqaddimah al-Ajrumiyyah. And we have recently begun a new topic called Bab al-I'rab in the 7th lesson. Anyone memorize the 7th lesson, the 2 lines that are there on page 15? Ibrahim, you got it? Go ahead. طيب الإعراب هو تغيير أواخر الكلمة. The i'rab is the changing of the ends of the words. What's the meaning of the ends of the words? The last letter always? No. Not always the last letter. Sometimes the second to last letter. Somewhere in the end of the word. لاختلاف العوامل الداخلة عليها لفظا أو تقديرا. Due to لاختلاف بسبب اختلاف العوامل, the amilas, the things that come to change the case, that come upon it lafdhan aw taqdeeran, either in wording or understood by context. That's been explained. وَأَقْسَامُهُ كَمْ؟ أَرْبَعَةٌ. So there are 4 categories of i'rab. This means there are 4 cases. Yeah, like accusative case in English. And we're not trying to compare them to those, but rather, these are the 4 cases in Arabic. What are they? الرفع والنصب والخفض. رفع ونصب وخفض وجزم. And last time we talked about the haraka, or the sign, the original sign for each of the 4 cases. There are other signs, but this is the first sign of the i'rab of these 4 cases. So for a word that's marfu' in the rafa' case, what's the sign? A dhamma. And for the nasb case, a fatha. And for the khafd case, kasra. And what's another word for khafd? Jar. Makhfud or majroor. Same thing. And then you have the last case, the jazm case. What's the sign, the main sign of jazm? As-sukun. Barakallahu fiqh. So we actually have all the harakat, right? Divided over these 4 cases as the base original sign of it being that case. Alamatu al-raf and alamatu al-nasb. This is the sign of it being marfu and the sign of it being mansub. Now we look at lesson number 8. Nouns and verbs have only 3 possible cases. Meaning of these 4 possible cases, a noun only comes in 3 of those cases. And a verb only comes in 3 of those cases. But they're not the same 3 for each of the nouns and verbs. Let's read the text. فَلِلْأَسْمَاءِ مِنْ ذَلِكَ. So nouns, asma, isms, from that, meaning from those 4 categories, they might come in one of these 3 cases. And there's one case that's missing. You'll see. الرفع والنصب والخفض. That means a noun can be marfu' or mansub or makhfud, also called majroor. A noun could be any of those 3 cases. وَلَا جَزْمَ فِيهَا. And there is no jazm. There is no such thing as an ism majzoom. It doesn't exist. Now, I will be asking you that in review questions. And I'll be slipping it in the middle of questions like give me a noun that's mansub and give me a verb that's marfu', and then I'll say give me an ism that's majzoom. And you need to say la yujad. There's no such thing. Or mustahil, impossible. Because there's no ism majzoom. Then Ibn al-Ajurrum says وَلِلْأَفْعَالِ مِنْ ذَلِكَ. And verbs have, of those 4 cases, they have الرفع والنصب والجزم. There can be a verb, فعل مرفوع. And there can be a verb, it's فعل منصوب. And there can be a verb that is فعل مجزوم. What can't there be? ولا خفض فيها. There's no such thing as a verb that's مخفوض. The other word we use for that? مجرور. There is no such thing as a فعل مجرور. It doesn't exist. So again, that'll be a question coming for you sooner or later. I'll say, give me an example of a fi'l majroor. And you'll say, لا يوجد في اللغة العربية. There is no such thing in the Arabic language. Like if I said to you now at this time, give me an example of a noun that has tanween and alif lam. Just say confidently without thinking too much, because that's not possible. لا يوجد. There is no such thing. You do not find such a thing in the Arabic language. There is no noun with alif lam and tanween. It can be only one or the other. That's our lesson for this evening. Let's rewind a little bit and break it down how it was broken down before. All words are of two major types as it relates to this issue of i'rab. Either this or that. Who remembers the first initial breakdown? Before we get to marfu' and mansub and all that, all words are either this or that. Mabni or mu'rab. If the word is mabni, that means we're not going to say it's marfu or mansub or majroor or majzoom because it's mabni. It doesn't take a case. That's the meaning of mabni. It doesn't fall into any of those cases ever. It's not part of the discussion of marfu or mansub. It's mabni. Then when we say it's mu'rab, mu'rab comes from the verb a'raba yu'ribu i'rab. And that means you can do i'rab to it. And i'rab is four types. It's raf, nasb, jar, and jazm. You can put that word in one of those four categories. And you will be able to do so, inshallah, if you know what that word should be in that sentence. طيب. So now we've got two categories of words. We've got the mabni, and if we want to make it mu'annatha, we would say al-kalimat imma mabniyah wa imma mu'rabah. Put a ta marbuta on those. Things are either mabni or mu'rab, whether you put a ta marbuta for femininity or not, mu'rabah or mabniyah, either way. Mabni is outside of our discussion. We don't have to worry about mabni. I mentioned to you some things that are mabni. What are some things that are mabni that we can excuse from our discussion and you don't have to worry about them? A harf is mabni. Like fi. It doesn't come fi you and fi ye and fiya. It's just fi in all cases. Fi. And ala. The huruf al-jar. All the huruf that we memorized. The huruf al-jar, al-thamaniya that we memorized from the beginning of the text. And the three what? Huruf that come along with those. Huruf al-qasam. And we talked about qasam today in our Tawheed class. So then al-ba, wa-ta, and al-waw, those three letters as well. There are always, These are mabniya. We never give an i'rab to them. These are huruf. What else aside from huruf? Dama'ir. Fi'l. All fi'ls? Fi'l madhi. Fi'l madhi is mabni, always. What other fi'l is mabni? There's another kind of fi'l. It's always mabni. Fi'l amr. So we have fi'l amr, the command verb, and fi'l madhi, past tense verb. We'll get more into what they are later. We haven't even introduced them yet. But those kinds of verbs are mabni, not part of our discussion. So we don't say fi'l madhi marfu' ever. Fi'l madhi. It's mabni out of something. It's mabni. It's not mu'rab. We're not talking about marfu', majzoom, or anything once we say it is mabni. So then we categorize it as mu'rab. We're not going to say that a lot, mu'rab. We're just going to say, as soon as I say marfu', that means, of course, we're going down the line of it being mu'rab. Otherwise, we couldn't even discuss marfu' or any of these classifications. طيب. So then let's look at the words kalimat mu'raba. We excused fi'l madhi, fi'l amr, huruf, and we can even excuse ba'd al-asma like the dama'ir and other things. Now we have with us some isms and some fi'ls only. That's all we have that are mu'rab. It makes up a lot of our language, about half the language. Some fi'ls and some isms. Specifically, which fi'l? Mudari', present tense verbs. So now, present tense verbs, they can be categorized into categories of i'rab. So we can put a fi'l mudari' in any of these four categories, right? No, we can't. Why not? We can put the fi'l mudari', we said it's mu'raba, and aqsam al-i'rab arba'a. So we can put the fi'l mudari' in any of the four categories, right? Only one we can't put the fi'l mudari' in. What's that one? Makhfood or majroor. Because why? Read the text. وَلِلْأَفْعَالِ مِنْ ذَلِكَ الرَّفْعُ وَالنَّصْبُ وَالْجَزْمُ وَلَا خَفْضَ فِيهَا. There is no such thing as khafd or a makhfud fi'l. So the fi'l mudari', that's the one we're going to say it's either marfu' or it's mansub or it is majzoom. Then when we go to the ism like zaydun, we're going to say zayd is either zaydun marfu' or zaydan mansub or zaydin majroor. What about zayd? Just stop with a sukoon and call that majzoom. La yujad. There's no such thing as an ism majzoom. Because in the text we studied, فَلِلْ أَسْمَاءِ مِنْ ذَلِكَ الرَّفْعُ وَالنَّصْبُ وَالْخَفْضُ وَلَا جَزْمَ فِيهَا. There is no such thing as an ism that's majzoom. All of this theory here will be coming out in our practice in the future. We're actually setting the stage with the first 10 lessons or so to go into the applications of these generalities in detail, week by week, inshallah, day by day, inshallah. So let's look at an example of an ism marfu'. Let's use Zayd, a real easy example, a classic 3-part example with Zayd that you'll hear so often. We have جاء زيد ورأيت زيدا ومررت بزيد. What did I just do? I gave you Zayd with 3 different ending sounds. One time you heard Zaydun, one time you heard Zaydan, and one time you heard Zaydin. And why did it change? لاختلاف العوامل الداخلة عليها. Due to the context and words that led up to the word Zayd. So جاء زيدٌ. Zayd arrived. I've made Zayd the subject of my speech. I've made him the fa'il. We'll learn about that. And so he gets to be marfu'. Zaydun. So Zaydun is marfu'. Then when I want to make something mansub, a quick and easy way to do it is to say, I saw that thing, and make it the object. Ra'aytu Zaydan. Ra'aytu Zaydan. Zaydan is mansub. It's got those 2 fathas on it, clearly. Zaydan. Then the third one I said was, marartu bi. Marartu, I passed. Bi, by Zaydin. Marartu bi Zaydin. And you can say, جاء محمد رأيت محمدا مررت بمحمد جاء جابر رأيت جابرا مررت بجابر. You can practice with this example of saying جاء فلان رأيت فلانا ومررت بفلان. You can practice like this. That's as it relates to the nouns. There's a noun, Zayd is a proper noun, counts as an ism. And there is an example for each of the 3 cases. One in one's full sentence, جاء Zayd, we've got Zaydun, marfu'a. رأيت Zayd, Zaydan. We've got a mansub example. And then we've got marartu bi Zaydin. Let's do the same thing for a present tense verb. And let's see, can I do the same thing for the present tense verb? Can I bring 3 cases here? Marfu'a, mansub, and majzoom? Yes, I can. I can do majzoom, but I can't do makhfud like I did with the asma. So here's what I can do with a fi'l mudari'. Let's use Zayd again. Now here's Zayd. Each and every time he's going to be marfu'a. We're not talking about Zayd. We're going to leave Zayd marfu'a. He's going to be the fa'il in each of the 3 sentences. But watch how the verb changes in each time. We're going to make him sit. So yajlisu Zaydun. Yajlisu. This is what case? What's the word yajlisu? What case is it in? Marfu'a. It's in the case of rafa'. So yajlisu is marfu'a. How do we know it's marfu'a? Alamatu raf'ihi ad-damma. That's how we make i'rab of that word. Yajlisu Zaydun, we say yajlisu fi'lun mudari'un marfu'un alamatu raf'ihi. The sign of it being marfu'a is ad-damma. And you can add the word al-zahira, the clear, obvious dhamma that's right there. Yajlisu Zaydun. Yajlisu. There's the dhamma. Yajlisu. It's not yajlisi. It's not yajlisa. It's not yajlis. It's yajlisu Zaydun. Second example, we need a mansub example of the same yajlis. Let's add a harf nasib. A harf that makes it mansub. It makes the verb that comes next mansub. It is lan. It's not going to happen. It's a negation for the future. Makes the verb shift into the future and it negates it. So lan yajlisa. Zaydun. Now we changed yajlisu to yajlisa. How did we change the i'rab? Why did we change the i'rab? لاختلاف العوامل الداخلة عليها. Because of the word len coming. It's an amila. Dakhila. It came and introduced itself to the yajlis. So yajlisu became yajlisa. Len yajlisa. I don't mean alif. Len yajlisa. With the fatha on the scene. Yajlisa. Now finally we need an example of a fi'l that's majzoom. Let's try to keep the same yajlis and zayd, but we need a harf. We need an amila. We need something that's going to have an amal, that's going to be jazima. It's going to make the jazm case come to the verb. So we're going to use ijlis. It's fi'lu amr. That's mabni. That's outside of our discussion, remember? Ijlis is fi'lu amr. Lam yajlis. Now let's put lam. Lam is a jazima. Lam comes and makes the fi'l after it majzoom. So lam yajlis. Lam yalid. Walam yulad. Not lam yalidu. Lam yalid. Walam yulad. طيب, so you have lam. Lam yakun. الذين كفروا. Lam. طيب, lam comes to make the verb majzoom. So here we would say, lam yajlis zaydun. Zaydun is majzoom? No, zaydun is marfu'un. Alamatu raf'ihi ad-dammatu adh-dhahira. Yajlis is lam yajlis. Yajlis majzoom. Alamatu jazmiha or alamatu jazmihi as-sukun. Alamatu jazmihi as-sukun. The sign of it being majzoom is the sukun. I'm only giving you the most basic of examples here so you can see the main sign of raf', nasb, and jazm and khafd in its place for these terms now. In our next class, we'll talk about in more detail the different signs of something being marfu'. And then we'll exhaust all of that, and we'll go to all the different ways something can show up as mansub, and then we'll go on from there to majzoom and makhfud and so on. We'll finish all of the cases and all the different ways that something appears a certain way, all the different signs that show that case. And remember I said the cases or the signs that we've studied so far, just the 4 harakat, the dhamma, the fatha, the kasra, and the sukun, those are the base signs, but there are other signs. And Allah Ta'ala knows best. If there's any question or concern, then we'll take it just before we close. Nice. That was 20 minutes of pain-free nahu. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. May Allah make it easy on all of you. The audio should be available tonight, inshallah, for those of you who want to review it, or those of you who are absent, and those of you who know someone who's absent, and so on. The worksheet as well, the last class, there's a worksheet with it. I'm not guaranteeing that there will be a worksheet or review questions with every class. I'll try to do that. And sometimes I might make more than one. And I'll try to make as well comprehensive worksheets that are like from lessons 1 to 10, as I've done already with lessons 1 to 4, I think. And all of these are being prepared. Again, you guys are the beta testing group. All of this is being prepared to go into this workbook in its final stage and be published with all of these resources that we're using. And so I'm basically relying upon your feedback a lot. If something is just really unclear in the worksheet and doesn't seem to follow the lesson very well, and you're really confused, I need to hear that, because I designed the worksheet. If you just heard this audio and you just reviewed it and you're following along, the worksheet shouldn't be too far away from you. There might be some words in there that you don't understand, but it should be relatively close to your level of understanding. And if it's really far away, I need to hear it. If it's really, really easy and not that beneficial of a review, I need to hear that as well. And it's kind of cooperation to produce something for our ummah. May Allah Ta'ala facilitate that. بالصحة والعافية وصلى اللهم وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد.